We're here today at the Alumina Mud Lakes, and so what we're doing here today is doing an actual on-site inspection and creating our plan for what we need to do to solve the red dust issue. And so, is what I think I want to talk a little bit about today is the excitement for the progress that we've made over the past month. Um, this has been a long journey, obviously, and we know that our residents have the concern and are looking for updates. So I think what we're doing here today is to give those updates and the progress we've made. Um, so that since last June in the drought period, when we had the major issue of the dust blowups, I think that you know the magnitude of this project and the severity of getting this right the first go around. We have limited funds in order to complete this project, so making sure that we do it in a very cost-effective and efficient manner, and we don't make the mistake of having to do this twice. And so I think that details in the planning stages is critical, the engineering, so that when we start this project, we make sure that it's successful. And I think that has taken time. And so when you look at the size and the magnitude of this project, I think it's important that we make sure we are putting the checks and balances in place and developing a proper plan in order to go ahead and solve the red dust issue. So we've had a little bit of delays with the administration changeover, and but what we see today and what we're super excited is that we have a new Secretary of DEQ and her staff, and they've been very, very hands-on. And I think the progress we made just in the last month has been impressive. And so that's what we need to see, and I think that's what our residents expect is progress. They want to see this moving forward, and us being here today, we'll be flying some drones, assessing quantities, and that is necessary. That is a necessary step in order to move into the planning stage, into the engineering. And so we're starting that process. We hope to be moving some dirt from different locations in the parish here, stacking it, getting it ready to implement that plan. And so to our residents, the solution is being developed, but I think the progress being made is what we want to make sure we state today, and so that they understand that we're moving forward to providing a solution with the mud lakes and the red dust issue.
Do we have any idea of a timeline? I see you saying that these changes are going to take place, but can you kind of give us a high level timeline of when we can expect some change?
Well, I think something of this stage, it's not as easy as just throwing some dirt on top of this bauxite. I think that you need to go ahead and ensure that the phases of the project and the design part is critical in that. I think that if we don't design it correctly, and then we're just wasting money, and we don't have money to waste. This is going to cost millions and millions of dollars, and so we can't afford to make a misstep. But I think what our residents need to know is we're going to go and try to solve the issues in the problem spots first, where the actual dust is coming from. So the design and the implementation will be to help reduce that troubled spot on these mud lakes, which is the drying of the red dirt, and then that allows it to get airborne. And so I think that's the more critical part. What can we do to mitigate the issue at hand in the near term as we develop this over many, many years? How do we solve that quick solution to reduce the issue of the red dirt? There's three entities that are involved. Parish government's role, which I'll speak on today, is to use some of our manpower to help save money, to be cost effective in this project due to the limited funds. And when I say limited funds, it's millions of dollars, but this is going to cost millions of dollars. So we're able to use parish resources and also implement it into the projects we have going on with the regional detention projects and some of our other drainage projects where we can supply the dirt. And so that's our component of it, and I think that's going to save a ton of money and to ensure that we stay on budget with the process. So that's parish government. And then we have to work with the company. We have to ensure that they're on board with what we're doing. And then DEQ is providing the oversight, some of the expertise, and the overall checks and balances to make sure this is successful. So I think as you see those three entities have to come together and we have to form that CEA, I think that has been in the discussions over the past months of getting to this point of where we are today in doing that. So that's parish government's role, and but the great thing is the communication is there, and I think we're really close to having a plan to move forward.
And you've talked about these funds. What are these funds and where are they coming from?
So any major project like this in industry, they're required to put money aside for a closure anticipation. So anytime a plant of this size closes, they have to put money aside in order to to implement the closure plan. And so that money has been put aside by the company to ensure that, again, that's what we're doing today is capping this and providing a long-term solution to this issue.
Who's actually going to do the work?
So we're gonna supply the dirt, and so we have brought ELOS on, and they're specialists in order to go ahead and help us do that. We're going to work with DEQ, and any contracting we need to do outside of parish government, we're going to have to put that out for bid and RFP for pricing. So we'll do that, but we're going to supply the dirt, and we may be doing some of the work. It just depends. That's an issue we're going to have to tackle once we get into the construction phase of the project. Yes, it is. We do have sprinkler systems. You can see some of them in the background. But what happens is any duration of time where we don't get actual rain, it starts to have areas where it becomes dry. And then when the wind picks up, that's when it becomes airborne. So we've had some rain recently, and that's why it's not blowing up in the air, but and the sprinkler systems can only do so much. And so you gotta understand this is hundreds upon hundreds of acres, and so it's almost impossible to have that many sprinkler systems at that magnitude to keep all of this wet 24 hours, 7 days a week. And so that's the issue with it. I think that's what you're seeing today is us giving some update, providing some details as we start to go ahead and start to design the closure plan. So that's basically what we're doing here today, is to get that information out to them, let them know that progress is being made. But this is a long journey, and I don't want to say that this will be solved in a few months, because it won't. What we're going to do is try to tackle some of the trouble spots first and start to minimize the red dirt issue. Well, I think we're going to just try to provide some regular updates. These things take time, and so we're just going to provide some regular updates to the HOAs and the homeowners as much as we possibly can. There's just not going to be new answers every day. This is a pretty long process, so we're going to provide regular updates as we can, just like we're doing today, and that's the goal, is to provide those updates.
Being out here today, there's nothing that replaces the ability to see in person what you're reading on paper or the pictures. And this has been a long-standing issue, and our commitment is to finding and providing a solution. This is not something that happens on its own. It's something that happens in collaboration and cooperation. At the end of the day, the permits were issued to the company. This falls within the company, so I am grateful that President Quitma has stood up and said, how do we provide a solution? And so, as he had mentioned, this is not something that there's going to be an answer overnight. It's something that we are going to work through together. I have that commitment. It's the commitment of DEQ. I'm looking forward to being able to fly this area, get a survey, and making sure that we measure twice and cut once. So that means that we are taking a measured approach so that we can alleviate without having to have mistakes that can arise during this process. That means that we will be giving regular updates, but know that when we're giving those updates, that means that we have doubled and triple checked so that we know that we're giving as accurate information as possible. This is something that isn't an easy answer, but we are committed to providing an answer because that is all our role here at DEQ, and very appreciative of the commitment and the collaboration in being able to come out here today. So when a company comes to open up a facility such as this, and this has been operating since, I guess, the late 1950s. So it's not something that just stood up, and actually the community has developed around this facility. And so ours is making sure that the company is compliant, is reporting, and is adhering to their responsibilities and the criteria that's in the permits. And so knowing that that has not happened in several years, we are using that to figure out how do we provide those solutions. Prior to my coming on board, there were engagements and work that was done to try to alleviate the red dust that was coming into the community. So it is something that's a long-term project, and so figuring out how do we provide a solution faster, as well as what can we do to figure out how do we make sure that the company is adhering to what was outlined in their permit. Just because they might not physically be operating, they still have a responsibility under that permit. So it's working with all the parties that are involved, such as the parish president, to make sure that we provide a solution, because we know that there are citizens that are impacted by the red dust that is flying up, and we're just trying to figure out what's the best way to alleviate that, and work with the company as much as we can. Yeah, I would say for the residents to be patient with us as we work through this process. We appreciate the patience that they've given so far. Want them to know that DEQ is committed to this. We're committed to working with the parish. We're committed to working with the elected officials to make sure that we have a path forward. We are definitely developing it, and so thank you for that. There was a meeting that we had, probably it was a week ago, less than a week ago, and within that time frame, hearing the urgency of this matter prompted me and my staff and my team to figure out how can I get on the ground, see what's going on, and develop a plan moving forward. So once this rose to my attention, I will say that things moved in rapid speed, and that is the commitment that DEQ has on not only this project but other projects as well.
So, as you can imagine, and whether it be parish government or state, and even more in the state, as you have administration change and you have someone new, like when I came on as a new parish president, it took me time just to understand who my staff was, what our capabilities were. So we've been in communication, but we were able to establish a meeting just last week. And then so to have the secretary and her staff out here and assessing quantities within that short period of time has been impressive and exciting for us, because we know that we're on the cusp of actually starting to provide an actual solution to this issue. So it has just been a great working partnership, and super excited about the progress we made in such a short period of time. And I think that's what the residents are expecting. They're expecting to see some progress. They're expecting to see some movement forward. And I think that's what you're seeing today, is the commitment of DEQ, the commitment of the parish to go ahead and provide that solution as quick as possible, but at the same time making sure that the plan is the correct one, the course of action is what's going to provide a long-term solution. We just cannot afford to make a misstep here, and I think that's critical. And I think the residents need to understand they want the solution, but we need to provide the proper solution within the proper time frame, and so that's critical. And so the plan is a major part of getting that correct. And so once we start construction, we do it in a very efficient, cost-effective, but providing a long-term solution to the issue.
And that DEQ, with their new secretary, is now going to cover this dirt with other dirt, right? And then
I'll let him make that decision, but my concern is that if the drone data comes back that there's not enough money in the fund and they have to deal with it a different issue, it's on
that's
the
just
back.
us.
Yeah. So I would just,
Got it.
you know, if we say something and then it don't happen and they go a different route, I'd hate.
Just going to reiterate kind of what we said earlier, but you can see there's no sprinklers on the top. You see how that you don't see that.
Right.
So we're sprinkling down here, but on that top ridge is where a lot of that dry material happens here. So if we get this, I think they need drum footage. Whether we can move some material to this side, or whether that's even an option. So.
One of these, I know they're at least going to fly and then be able to take that data back. I'll have to get more detail on what assessments they will pull off of that.
Okay. So as soon as we can get that, I think that then we can start doing some mathematical calculations to determine what that looks like. Even if you took this and you just spread it flat, what does that look like?
There may be places
And then,
out
all
there.
right, well, no, we need to take 3 or 4 feet or 2 feet or a foot off in order to provide more water here and move some of that material over. So.
And you guys will start on this side and then work your way that way.
Yeah, I think this is the core issue. So
Okay.
whatever that takes to get some of these dry mounds, the tops down, I think that's what